Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's super awesome webinar on how to become unstoppable in business and life. My name is Natasa Denman, and you guys are all part of my community. Fresh off the plane from Europe last night at midnight. So I haven't even been back in the country 24 hours, but I'm in great spirits, and I've already had 2 mega sessions earlier today with 2 of my authors to come to the November retreat. So I'm super excited tonight to be introducing you to Kerryn Gamble. But before I do that, let's make sure that you guys can hear me and you can see that PowerPoint presentation that Kerryn's sharing from her end. So if you can just shout out a couple of highs and hellos in the questions box that you have there. And while I introduce Kerryn, there we go. There's Sonata. Nice to see you on the call, Sonata. Let me tell you a little bit about Kerryn and who she is before I officially let you hear from her and the gold she's got to share with you. Hey, Amy. Amy's written I'm here as well, and all good from Adelaide. Hey, Alicia and Marika also, and Tracy's there. Fantastic. I'm just going to delete those comments because I like to keep my comments box empty so we can listen to all the questions. By the way, guys, I do strongly encourage you to ask lots of questions or post some comments. We've kind of worked out that Kerryn can't see them at her end, but I will be monitoring them and responding back to you, or obviously when she asks for comments and questions, I'll pass them on to her. So do post them up. If it's anything logistical, then I'll answer to you privately. So who is Kerryn? So Kerryn is the founder of A Woman of Worth and an author of course, as you can see, Unstoppable, the Professional's Woman's Guide to Purpose, Power and Prosperity. So to realize the vision of a world where women communicate with conviction, Kerryn applies her expertise in self-confidence and self-leadership to transform women in professional services from invisible to influential. So how me and Kerryn met was probably we studied at the same coaching school a while back, and one day we just decided to catch up and have a coffee, and then we probably were in each other's network, but not too actively. And then one day I walked in to check out what this Professional Speakers Association was all about, as I was looking for a new place to build relationships and network, and there she was. And that's how we became closer buddies over the last 2 years, I would say. We've been seeing each other a lot more frequently through that association. And one day, as I was actually returning from Europe last year, how funny is this, that this year after Europe, you're listening to a webinar from being hosted from her to you guys. And last year, literally, I reckon it was also 24 hours before I returned after I returned home, that she rang me and said, Nat, I've got to come and do your retreat, and can I sign up as things were changing back then from July 1. So that just only occurred to me right then and there. And then May this year, she came and actually attended the retreat. So she did actually wait about 10 months for her retreat to come along. But what you guys may or may not know, she is our record holder now. She surpassed our previous record holder by 7 days of publishing her book within 49 days of the retreat and having it in hand. How she did that is basically she had a deadline and a date where she really wanted to have her book in hand. She was doing a presentation and she wanted to have it there available for people. And she was just telling me before we got on the call what the amazing differences and things that have happened, and how awesome her book sales are going. So without any further ado, I will get her on the line to start chatting to us. But thank you so much for those that have responded. Bhatia, thank you for welcoming me back. And Roz is there as well. Welcome, everyone. So there's quite a few of you there, and I will monitor that question box. So hi, Kerryn.
Hello, Nat. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. And Nat, thank you for that wonderful introduction and that trip down memory lane.
Oh,
and
no,
I was smiling away as you were describing the events of the last 12 months. And if someone had said to me, Kerryn, in the next 12 months, this is what's going to happen, I think I would have given them the bunny in the headlights look, like, really? Do you think so? A lot's happened in the last 12 months. And certainly putting this book out, there's been a lot of I guess I've been building up to this, and you said I waited for about 10 months or thereabouts before I booked in and came along to the retreat. And that's because I had a lot of stuff I wanted to share. I was organizing it in my head, but I recommend your head is not the best place to organize a book. It's it's much better to organize it on paper. And but I'm really glad that I have got my book now. It's fantastic. Highly recommended if it's something that you're contemplating that's in line with where you want to take your business and your profile. And just so you know, I can't see who's online. I can't see any names or questions. So Nat, you've got that on your screen.
Our gorgeous friend Louise is here, and she's saying it's awesome to be here. So she's here supporting you. I'm sure a couple of other people that that are in our network are here as well. So I will pass on any comments and questions as you go through and stop from time to time. And also I will be participating as well. I'm listening and learning. So please take it away. And if you need any support, just I'm here and I'm taking notes as well.
Great. All right. Thanks, Nat. Well, hello, everyone. And for those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Kerryn Gamble. And in a nutshell, I help professional women become more influential. And to give you a little bit of context for what I do, why I do what I do, I grew up with a highly intelligent sibling, off the charts intelligence. And as a young girl, I made that mean that my ideas and my comments or my questions were never as good as those of my sibling. And in that process, so as a young girl, I then lost belief in the value of my contribution, and more than that, I lost confidence within myself. And what I've learned over the years is communication is a choice. And taking that a step further, I don't think we will achieve gender equality until every female starts valuing the contribution that she can make and takes full ownership of how she chooses to show up, because we are always communicating, even when we're not. So that's a little bit of context as to why I do what I do and where I've come from. And here's a little bit more context for you. This is the Robertson family. As my partner Gordon up the top in the middle, my daughter Mia, who's 7, and my little boy Max, who's 5, and of course Sophie, the Wonder Cat, who is almost 17. She's a very senior member of the family, but a very much loved member of the family as well. So there's my tribe up there for you to have a bit of a look at. So I've spent about 25 years in professional services, and in that time, in addition to my personal journey, the women I work with, and investing a lot in myself in the context of professional development, I've cultivated a bit of a laser-like focuses on the difference that make the difference as far as how women communicate the value they have to offer, and their presence. And this is why I authored the book Unstoppable. And over these years, I've identified 3 main challenges experienced by professional women. And they are, firstly, that they doubt themselves, women doubt themselves, that their written and spoken messages lack impact, and thirdly, that they're uncomfortable, usually, with self-promotion and what others will think, which tends to show up in their body language. So tonight I'm very pleased to be sharing some of these with you, and I do invite you, as Nat said, to ask questions along the way and share your comments and experiences. So let's kick off with why people buy from you and not someone else. There are 3 reasons that I've come up with that I believe are why people buy from you. And the first one of those is your values. And I don't know, some of you on the call may be familiar or may have met Joe Parnay. And I remember Joe Parnay saying one day, and this really resonated with me, he said, when you fall in love with someone, you don't fall in love with the person, you fall in love with their values. And I remember that very distinctly. I thought, oh wow, that's really interesting. I've never thought about it like that. And it's so true in that people buy from you because of what you stand for, your values being the things you hold near and dear. And there are 2 types of values. There are your core, tightly held values that you've had for most of your adult life and that you will continue to have for most of your adult life. And then there are some other peripheral values which will change depending on your life, what's going on in your life for you. I think you might even know someone or are aware of someone that's had some major health scare, and not always, but sometimes that can then change their whole perspective on looking after themselves and not smoking and eating well and exercising regularly. So whilst health previously might not have been a high up on their list of values, in that instance, that can be where suddenly they've embraced that and they realize the importance of that. And I find values fascinating, and for many years I didn't really get what values were all about. And I remember working in the corporate sector, and there were values up on the wall, and I thought, oh yeah, well, whatever, it's on a wall plaque. It's just something you had to remember and recite. But there's so much more to it than that. So the values being, this is what you care about, this is what you really dig, and you don't actively choose them, you just do. It's where you have your standards. So have a think about whereabouts in your life you have great results consistently. Is it your relationships? Is it your health? Is it your business acumen? Is it your sporting prowess? Is it where? So have a think about where in your life you have great results. Maybe you're a highly accomplished cook and you really dig cooking. Because what happens when you really care about something, you become a leader in that space, because you'll prioritize being able to do that thing or spend more time doing that thing, learning about that thing, whatever that thing is, because you just love it and you really enjoy it. And you will downgrade other things just so that you can do what it is that you love to do. And things that we don't care about as much, we tend to not be so good at. We tend to be more of a follower than a leader, whereas things that we value the most, we tend to set the pace. We are intrinsically motivated. We're motivated from within to continue to get results in that area. Whereas if it's something we don't really care about, we may need reminders from other people or a little bit of a nudge to do whatever it is that we're meant to be doing. And in the context of people buying from you, have a think about, what do others admire about you or are inspired by? Because, and I think, Nat, I think it might have been you that said, I heard say this before, where you've said, you mentioned, what is it that people admire about you that they want for themselves, or something along those lines.
What do other people see in you that they want for themselves?
Yes. And that thing that they see in you will be a reflection of your values, of what it is that you're great at, what it is that you do well. So that's where values come in. And this is where you might as well embrace whatever it is that is near and dear to you, because anything else will become a huge effort. And it won't be consistent. You'll have ups and downs, and you'll have great results some weeks and not others, because your heart's not really in it. And so following on from that, vitality. So you've got what it is that you care about, you prioritize because it's really important to you. And vitality is a kind of an energy where it goes beyond a functional role of doing something, and it's this energy. And perhaps you've had this experience where you meet someone, you're speaking with them, and you think there's just some sort of energy about them. They seem lit from within. That's how I think of it. You might have another expression for it. It's this vitality, that they're driven from a reason that comes from within. And so in the context of why people buy from you, have a think about how people feel when they're interacting with you. So have a think about that in the context of what you do, your business. How do people feel when they're interacting with you? And then consider how you would like them to feel when interacting with you. And is that different to what you think they're feeling when they do interact with you? So that's something to have a bit of a ponder afterwards. Now, with this vitality, this energy that you have, another question for you is, who do people become because of you? because of associating with you, working with you, having you do whatever it is you do for them or with them? Who do people become because of you? And that will also give you some clues about your values, your vitality, so what lights you up from within. Now the third one is your essence. I'm calling it essence, and that is what makes you uniquely you. And this is a mix of rational and emotional factors coming into play. So there might be some rational factors. You might be unique because you might have a fabulous talent for copywriting and you write great copy, but there can be more to it than that. So yes, you can produce great copy, but through people's interaction with you when they're dealing with you and the way you approach your copywriting, it can be so much more than that. So have a think about what your unique essence is, and to help you come up with that, I've got a few questions here for you. Firstly, if your business brand was a person, now, and I appreciate for many of you on the call, you may be the business, so it's going to be close to heart. Describe the person, say 3 to 5 traits. If your business was a brand, if your business brand was a person, describe 3 to 5 traits of this person. What words come up? Who's game to share some words? You don't have to share 3 or 5, even one.
I'll start off because I'm on here, but my 3 words are fun, fast, and fame. And yes, I mean they're closely linked because that's the personality and what I enjoy about my business. But here we go. We've got some. Louise said wise. Rithik says noble. Roz says empowering, passionate, and playful. Louise also says practical. Rithik also says outstanding. Alicia, transformational, passionate, life-changing. Eleanor, connections. Kimberly, giving. Unique by Rithik. Sassy, fun, down to earth from Tracy.
Love them. There's some great words there.
Yeah.
Great words. Okay, so you've got 3 to 5 traits that are what make you unique, and if your business brand was a person, you can describe them. Here's one for you. What do you want to be known for? So I've mentioned previously in the introduction, I mentioned about closing the confidence, well, I didn't mention that, but my mission is closing the confidence and achievement gap for women. And the bigger picture there is to achieve gender equality. So have a think about what you want to be known for. What space would you like to have a presence in?
We've got...
And I respect...
Rithik says...
Oh, we got responses.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Rithik says uniting this world as one family. Louise says, Kerryn, one of your words is bold. For you, bold.
Thank you.
Louise says dedicated to truth.
Yes.
And her 3 words were love and authentic, spiritual. Roz is saying to shine a light on the message of small business people. And
awesome.
Tracy teaches countrywomen to become the financial backbone of their communities. Cool.
Oh, great one. Yeah. So, all right. Well, with that, what the space that you want to be known for, and you might not know specifically the difference that you want to make. You just have this kind of feeling that this area is something that you want to do more in, that you want to make a bigger contribution somehow. You don't necessarily need to know what that contribution is specifically, but you'll just get a bit of a gut feel that is something that's resonating, that you really want to make a difference with. So once you got that in your head, now how do you want to convey what you look like? And I want to preface this by saying there's too much emphasis on what women look like. That is my personal belief. And that doesn't mean we should all walk around in daggy trackies all the time, but there is a lot of emphasis on what you look like. But I want you to think about this in the context of your essence and branding. So going back to the 3 to 5 traits that you scribbled down, have a think about how you want to convey who you are and what you look like. So those 3 words. So if a word was bold, so come up with 3 words or more, fewer is better. And what I find really helpful is to use those as a criteria for whenever you're choosing something. If you want to feel like you're on brand, then you think, okay, is this outfit, is this jacket, is this bold or courageous or whatever your word is? So my 2 words are elegant with edge. They're my words. So when I'm choosing my wardrobe, if I want to dress on brand, it's, okay, is this elegant with edge? And if it's not, then I'm not on brand. So I found that's an easy way if you're wanting to be congruent in your brand as far as how you present yourself.
Rose is saying, loving these questions, Kerryn.
Excellent. Thank you, Roz. And Roz, you're very congruent with your brand. You rock your space. And a super cape looks good with anything, I think, Roz. So you're on brand all the time. Okay, so they're ways to capture your values, your vitality, your essence, which are ultimately why people buy from you. So people are shifting away, particularly with more Gen Ys, as Gen Y grows up, consumer purchases are shifting away from transactional, yes, I want you to do my tax. They're wanting a bit more of an experience. They want something more authentic, that's a bit more meaningful, where they feel they're part of the process and they feel like they're part of something a bit more special. So the high touch is coming back. So have a think about how you can utilize your values, your vitality, your essence in a way where those customer touch points are for people to have that on-brand congruent experience. All right. Any questions at this point before we move on to the next point?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. Rosa again said, bold and distinctive for me, and I would love to see Kerryn in baggy tracky pants. Well, I can tell you she's wearing them right now because we weren't going to do video. Oh.
Well, I have my sporty look on at the moment. This is Kerryn's sporty look. I've got my Lululemon zipper tracky top on. There you go. That's me being a bit revealing. I do love their stuff.
It's cool.
All right. So that's why people buy from you. Okay. Now, there are 3 language habits that make you sound uncertain, and what you can do about them. There's more than 3. We're focusing on 3 tonight. All right. So I've used the acronym BAD, B-A-D. So the 3 language habits I want to share with you tonight are, the first one being buy-in, where we are attempting to create buy-in by using as in YOU-KNOW, because it's suggesting that people know what we're thinking and where we're coming from. It's usually creating an environment where we want people to agree with us. We don't really want them to disagree or to question. We just want them to nod. And very often that's what people will do. They will nod, but not necessarily be engaged. So if you make a statement and at the end of it you put, you know what I mean? Now, there are times when you will need to check in with your listener, with your audience, and in those situations, stay away from where you're putting the I word. So you might use so if you do need to check in, you might say something like, making sense? Or how's this sitting? Or are we on track? Or we're looking good so far? And that gives people an opportunity to ask questions or raise their hand, rather than Am I making sense? Because it's not about us. It's not about you. Are you making sense? It's about the message. So I'll check in at this point. How's this sitting?
They're saying great advice. Um,
Is this making sense?
yes, we are
Because
with it.
so let's contrast that. If I finish that sentence and then I say, you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not as powerful.
Not as powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the B in bad.
And Kimberly,
The A,
good stuff.
excellent. Thank you, Kimberly. The A is, and I get really fired up about this, the A is apologising and saying sorry. Oh, I do get very fired up about this. So many women apologise without needing to. And it is a habit that stems from low self-worth. Because an animalistic level, if we apologise and make ourselves small and inferior in some way, then whoever it is that we're dealing with at the time is much less likely to be annoyed, angry, or respond in a way that we don't want them to. The thing is, it's gone too far. So you're in the supermarket and you bump someone's trolley. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. So what do you say when you're really sorry? Like when you're really, really sorry for something? Because to say sorry, you're either sorry or you're not. And I believe that in those situations, we're not really sorry. It's more of us being nice and polite. So my suggestion with this is to have an alternative, to reframe it and have an alternative. And you might have a couple up your sleeve. So for instance, a stock standard one, if you accidentally either bump into someone or you've walked around the corner of in an office or something and you almost walk into someone, the typical response is, oh, I'm sorry. Same as with a supermarket trolley. The reframe that I use is, oh, that was close.
Mm-hmm.
And no one seems offended that I've not used the S word. No one's looked at me and as if they were waiting for a sorry. So apologising when you don't need to, such as in a meeting if you're asking a question. I'm sorry, can I just ask a question? Because we don't need permission to ask a question, and mostly men will not ask permission to ask a question. So if we want to be seen as equal and to be as confident and have as much authority, ask the question rather than asking permission for the question. Because by asking permission, you're already asking a question.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Or am I off on a rant? Because I could keep going on that.
No, that's great.
So
I've never thought about what the response would be to bumping into someone. So I'm going to try that one next time. There's a couple of comments. Here's just other engaging checking in words or statements. I think you did do that from Sheena. What images am I supposed to be seeing as I have a black screen only with audio? Second time I've logged in with this. Yes, the recording will be sent out and we are recording it, and I believe others can see the PowerPoint. Can you guys just check in? Like one of you, maybe Sheena, can you tell me if you can see the PowerPoint? Also, there's a question from Sheena. Promoting the awesome products and services people and businesses provide. That was probably her vision from earlier. But she also said, what about if you have to ask them to re-ask it, such as, sorry. Okay, sorry, can you say that again?
like in a meeting, if you need someone to repeat
Maybe
what they've said,
if you haven't heard them.
you could raise your hand or not, depending on how many people are there, and say, would you mind repeating that, please?
Yeah, that's good. And by the way, everyone can see the PowerPoint, so it must be something at your end. Whoever said that, I forgot who said it. I'm just gonna, yep, everything's making sense. Everyone's just saying. Roz says, love the inside of sorry, minimizing our self-worth. Yep. Yes, lady with hands on ears, image. Someone saying what they can see. Eleanor, I know guys who apologize too. I definitely agree that it is low self-worth. Yep, cool. Awesome. All right, keep going.
Okay, so we've covered the buy-in, where you ask, because you want people to say yes, you want them to agree with you. We've covered the apologizing and the sorry, which is what the A stands for, and so if we want to reframe that. And the D stands for deflating, deflecting, or deferring. When you receive praise of some sort, to deflate, deflect, or defer, such as, oh no, well look, it wasn't really me, or oh no, I've had this dress for ages, or oh look, it's not that great, and to put it down. And there are two reasons why, and one of them is, firstly, the person who's given you the praise, the compliment, the positive feedback, you've just denied them the gift of giving. So they've then given you something, and you've just linguistically slapped them without meaning to, but that's the effect. You've rejected their praise. And it also says something about you. It's a reflection of how you feel about yourself. So we teach others how to treat us. So if we don't value ourselves and we reject praise, positive feedback, then soon what happens is people will stop giving us praise and positive feedback if we keep deflecting it or putting it down, putting ourselves down, because it's, think about yourself in that situation. If you were to praise someone regularly and they keep deferring or deflecting and not accepting it, after a while you stop, because it doesn't feel good, and people are very much driven by what feels good to them. So D is the deflecting, deferring, and deflating. It's like you give someone a present and they look at you and say no. And if you're the giver of that present, that nice gesture, it doesn't feel good. In fact, ironically, it happened the other night on Father's Day. I was driving over to Mum and Dad's, and I said I was going to drop in after dinner, and I rang saying I'll be there in about 20 minutes, and Dad said, you don't have to come over. And I thought that was a great example of him saying, that was like and I said, I know, and I am. That was an example of that in play. All right.
There's just a few comments.
Let's talk about.
A few
comments.
comments.
Yes.
Yeah, just that. Oh my God, I do that. From Sonata, Eleanor says I do D a lot. Great clear info, thank you. And Alicia says my gran does that. She says, "Oh, you shouldn't have when we give her a present."
And I'm curious to know, when she says you shouldn't have, in that moment, how do you feel?
Yuck.
So whoever typed
says yuck.
Yuck. Nice and succinct. I like it. Okay. Building more trust and authority when you communicate. There are 3 areas that contribute to trust and authority when you communicate, and I describe these as the thinking, the language, and the physical movement. So if you're thinking, if you have that self-doubt, that undermining thinking that's playing in your head, if that's going on, but your language and messages are very clear, and the way you move is very, let's say, call it confident, there's going to be some incongruence there. You're gonna feel like a bit of an imposter, because what the voice going on in your head is not going to match what else is going on. And in a similar track, I draw these in Venn diagrams, and perhaps I should have done one for tonight. If your thinking is good and your language is good, but your physical movements are a bit out of whack, then you will be invisible, because whilst your thinking might be positive and your language relatively clear, people won't really notice you because you'll be sitting small, not very noticeable. You won't have a lot of presence. Each of these three areas plays a big role in trust and the authority that you convey when you communicate. And it's interesting to see when people get up to speak in front of groups, 9 out of 10 would instantly, the hands go across their stomach, often holding hand, palm to palm. I once heard someone describe it as when you're a child, your parent holds your hand, and then as you grow up, you then end up holding your own hand when you're feeling a bit nervous or a bit vulnerable. So you see people holding their hand, covering their vitals, their vital organs, and their vulnerable parts. And I do a masterclass on this, but one example of looking, and this comes from Michael Grinder, John Grinder, the founder of NLP. His brother Michael is an expert in not the language, but body language, the non-spoken language. And one of the ways to look like you have more authority if you're presenting at the front of the room is to stand with one arm down by your side and the other arm bent up at approximately 90 degrees. So if you've got a clicker, a pen, something in your hand, or if you're networking, it could even be a glass, that is a way to look confident and have authority, to not have that hands crossed in front of your stomach area, but to still feel like you've got your little blankie in your hand, you've got something there. And just having that bent, one arm bent, means you don't look like a soldier standing bolt upright. You look more natural. So that's a tactic you can try straight away when you've got to stand up and present something. Put something in your hand, preferably something appropriate in your hand. A whiteboard marker if you're going to be drawing on the whiteboard, something like that.
Cool.
Now, adding on to this, posture. So I'm a fan of good posture. There are two things bad posture does. One, it affects your voice. It affects the alignment of the vocal cords, your voice box, so it does impact your voice projection. The other thing is humans are hardwired to prioritize visual cues. So even if what you're saying is top-notch, if you're slouchy and slumped over and looking unconfident, then that is the message that people will pick up, despite what you've said. So we will prioritize visual cues over non-visual messages, over words. So part of this, I'm a big fan of core strength, building core strength, and doing that consistently. And because for a lot of people, they spend a lot of time in front of laptops and sitting down, perhaps more so than they used to. They might not run around as much as they did. And it's easy to get into that where the shoulders come forward. And you can see in this picture here how the impact that has on the overall physique. So your chest goes down, your back starts to round, your stomach starts to pop out. And that's the difference with standing up straight. So who here feels that their posture could be better, or do you feel like you've got it pretty well sorted? I'm curious whether...
Okay, so we have a couple of comments. I think from earlier, Kimberly said very interesting about what you were saying. Okay, Roz said, rather than deflecting feedback, it's much more empowering to be gracious with accepting feedback and be grateful of the gift. That was for earlier. Leanne, as body language is 55% of communication, I can see why it wins over words and tone. Rithik says, sorted. Tracy goes, laugh out loud, I'm screwed. Kimberly, the computer's killing my shoulders. These days. Yeah, well, I'll speak for myself, and I, since a little kid, have been have had rounded shoulders, and I'm working on that. I must say, I feel like they've improved a bit since I've started doing regular exercise 10 months ago, 4 times a week. I'm so proud of myself. But I'm aware as a presenter. Yeah, a couple of times people have come up to me and said to me, and I go, trust me, I'm doing everything I possibly can to improve my posture, because It's been something that I've been like that since a little kid, and I don't know whether it's something physical or maybe something emotional that happened. I don't know. But going to see chiropractors and doing regular exercise, I think I'm improving. So, but it is important. Another thing that I will say though, I've never let that. I know that that's one of my weaknesses, and I have never let that obviously prevent me from standing up and talking in front of audiences, because I have a belief that I have that much charisma and energy that people will overlook my little ailment.
That's your vitality coming through, Nat.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, if anyone does have rounded shoulders, like in the picture, two of the things that need happening is you need to strengthen the back.
Yes.
And stretch out the muscles in the chest in the front.
Yeah. And that's what I'm doing with my PT and working on the core as well. She said strengthening the stomach muscles will make me stand up even straighter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're the
before you
yes.
go on. Ron says, I focus on my posture quite a bit because I don't want to get round shoulders. Ellen, I have to be conscious of my posture, lots of computer time. I should do rolls before presenting. Yep. Louise, my posture is pretty good. One of my high values is health, exercise, yoga, so I feel pretty healthy. And Sonata, I don't feel okay with my look, so my posture is kind of bad. Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
I love your honesty. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And self-awareness too.
Yes.
That's really important.
Yep.
So kudos. Speaking of confidence, I wanted to clarify the distinction between confidence and self-confidence, because they're not the same thing, yet the term is often used interchangeably. So confidence is, and this comes from Julian Short, he's an Australian psychiatrist, and I love the way he defines this, and he says confidence is, this is where we're focusing on our competence, our ability to do something. And there's only one way to truly feel confident with something, and that is practice, to have done whatever it is a lot of times so that we feel very well practiced and very competent. That's confidence, which is different from self-confidence. Self-confidence is being okay within yourself no matter what happens. So you can be speaking to a group and not necessarily feel confident, but you can be self-confident.
Yeah.
So have a think about that. The confidence is your belief in your ability to do something. Self-confidence is your belief in your ability that you will be okay no matter what the outcome. That you are backing yourself to deliver to the best of your ability with the resources you have. So you can have both. You can be self-confident and not confident. And you can be confident in something but not necessarily self-confident. So it could be a particular skill that you have that you've done a lot, you're very you're very confident with that, but not self-confident within yourself. And the reason I mention this is because sometimes women will say, in fact, I had a client who said to me with such conviction, she said, look, I'm just not a confident person. And she said it with such conviction that in that moment she was clearly very confident about her lack of self-confidence. So that was the irony, that she was absolutely confident and convinced that she was not confident, not self-confident, I should say. So that was quite ironic. And also a learning there that our belief around who we are and what we are capable of can play into how we communicate. So if you have beliefs that you're not a self-confident person, that will most likely come across in some of your movements, your physical movements, and perhaps your language, and most likely the thinking that goes on. And when I say the thinking, I'm talking about that voice in our heads, which is like a radio station that's on every waking moment. We will never get rid of it, so the aim is to turn down the volume when it gets if it's being unhelpful, and to tune it into a better channel, better frequency. I think that's how Light FM position themselves. They call it the positive alternative. So I invite you to find your own Light FM, the positive alternative, because that is a very powerful way of changing how you come across. And I talk about this more in the book in more depth. Now, feeling confident, whatever the situation, what I'm really meaning there is feel more self-confident, whatever the situation. There are two main ways to do this. There are more, but these are the two big ones. The first one is to believe in yourself. Easy to say, perhaps more challenging to do. And one of the mantras I have for this is, I've got this. Now, it's backing yourself and it's being all in. So rather than sticking a toe in the water, you're diving into the pool with a absolute belief and conviction that I've got this. It doesn't mean that you've done it before or you necessarily know what the next step is, but you know that you will give it your absolute best, however that pans out, and that you know you will be okay. It might not be a great outcome. You might not particularly like the outcome, but you have absolute conviction that you will be okay. So that's what I use. I've got this. The emphasis I want to make here is on the word feel. We do tend to place an emphasis on the feeling of confidence. Oh, I just don't feel confident. And to feel more confident, one of the other ways I do this, apart from the mantras that I choose, and I have mantras that I say when I wake up in the morning. Some people do it like in the shower, when they're standing in front of the mirror, brushing their teeth. Choose a time when it works for you and a belief that you wish to subscribe to, and you repeat that, and you do it day in, day out. And when you hear it enough, you will buy into it. But the distinction here I want to make is the feeling, to feel more confident. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm a confident person, but it's another thing to feel what that's like. Everyone has had a moment in their life when they felt confident about something, when they felt really good about something. This is only effective if you are able to tap into that moment in that time. It makes it much more effective if you can tap into the emotion. So thinking about a time when you felt really confident. Where were you? What could you see? What could you hear? What were you feeling? So when you're saying these mantras, taking yourself back to that time, and that's where I find the power is in feeling self-confident. The other way I approach this is gratitude. And I heard this when we were doing coach training years ago. I heard this this message being said in many different ways of attitude of gratitude, being grateful. And I heard it, but I didn't really take it in. It's true that our headspace cannot be in a state of gratitude and a state of anxiety at the same time. So the way I tap into feeling grateful is I think of something with a feeling attached. It might be how it feels when I hug my children, how it feels when I hug Sophie the cat, and particularly with Sophie the cat, where she has a very loud purr, and I hear the purr and I can feel the soft fur. And I don't know about you, but I just find her purr very soothing. So I will momentarily take myself back to that time and feel the calm, feel grateful for that moment and having my wonderful children and having my very senior cat that's still alive. That's what I find is really powerful, is really feeling it. So if you're about to do a presentation or there's another situation where you're feeling apprehensive and you're feeling nervous, so for a moment, take yourself back to a time when you feel grateful and really feel it. Because when you do that, you cannot be worried about what it is you might be about to do. And it breaks that neural pathway and that cycle of anxiety of getting caught up in the what ifs and whatever other story or drama is going on in your head. How's that sitting with you? Does anyone...
Very good. There's quite a lot of comments, so let me start at the top and I'll read through them. Sanada's just said, wow. I think that was referring earlier to, the difference between self-confidence and confidence, which was a really cool distinction, and I can see the way you described it so clearly, where that, fits in, and how, as long as you know you can handle anything. My kind of thing, you said, I've got this. My thing is I'll handle it when it comes to self-confidence, and nothing can, whatever happens, you'll be able to handle it. And I think I picked that up from that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, from Susan Jeffers. Leanne, early on from the posture stuff, said that, yes, physio is also great. Instructions for rolled towel under shoulders and open chest. After 2 weeks, she could raise her hands above her head for the first time in 7 years. Awesome.
Hooray!
Roz loves the distinction between confidence and self-confidence, and will strive more for self-confidence. So I'm okay with the outcome no matter what. Carl says, even though he's a bloke, I'm still getting a lot out of this webinar. Love your comments on confidence, and he's working on his posture as well. Louise Cramen says, I agree, at times I've been quite nervous when I'm giving a talk, but felt confident in what I was talking about and knew that I would be okay. Kimberly loves it. Self-trust is confidence, from Leanne. Roz says, sung to the tune of MC Hammer, do, I've got this.
I've got this.
Yeah. Alicia, I do my mantras while walking, she says. Rose also says, I stood in power pose today and said, I've got this, before giving a webinar. Fantastic. Elaine, cat is usually calming itself when purring. Brilliant and wonderful, from Tracy and Eleanor. And last comment, Sophie the cat is a woman of worth, says Roz.
Yes, she is. Thank you, Roz. I'd never thought about it like that. I love it.
Love it. That was the last comment.
Okay, let's take this to the next step, moving beyond your comfort zone to improve results in business. Because it's easy to go with the feeling. When something doesn't feel comfortable, we can pause, hesitate, hold back. And this is tapping into the reptilian brain, which is all about survival. You see someone in the dark alley and you just get this feeling that it's not good. That is all about survival. But that feeling of discomfort, that is to keep us safe. And I can think of 20 odd years ago now, and I was walking to the station from work. It had just changed into daylight savings, so it was still quite light outside, and I had like a handbag kind of across my body, and I had a bag of shopping in one hand and a work sort of briefcasey thing in the other hand. And I was walking through the exhibition building gardens, and there were people around. It was 5:30 in the afternoon, and yet I saw this guy in like a black hoodie, and I just instantly, bang, there's just something in my stomach. It just felt really uncomfortable, yet he wasn't doing anything. He was just standing there. And there were other people around, but I just had this really strong feeling, and my rational brain's going, it's okay, he's just another person. He's just standing there. I'm just going to walk straight past him. So I was trotting off and walked straight past him. And as soon as I got very close to him, he turned suddenly, stood in front of me, and I've got internal alarm bells going off at this stage, and he said, have you got the time? And of course I was wearing a long sleeve jacket, and I looked down at my watch, and it was in that moment that he grabbed me and assaulted me. And I thought it was that survival instinct that just somehow there was something about this person that I just knew stay away. Yet I logicked my way that no, it was going to be fine. But somehow my reptilian brain knew that that scenario was dangerous. And what often happens in business when we're doing something new or different for the first time is that we feel this discomfort. So the distinction that we're wanting to get clear on here is this a discomfort which is focused on our survival, or is this discomfort associated with something new, different, something bigger, something that could lead to, well, we don't know because it's new and it's different, but possible amazing results? Because our reptilian brain will respond the same way, and it doesn't matter whether this perceived danger is real or imagined. The body responds in the same way. It will release the same stress hormones, and physically you will feel the same way. So think about whether there's anything going on in your life, business right now, that you've been hesitating around or you've held back, thinking that, oh, it just doesn't feel right. Is that it doesn't feel right because you think it's something threatening your safety or survival, or is it just doesn't feel right because I have no idea what I'm getting myself into? But it also could be something wonderful and something big. Has anyone turned down opportunities and now they're perhaps regretting it because it just didn't feel good at the time? It felt a little bit overwhelming.
I have a lot of the time authors who, they feel sick to their stomachs, and a lot of the time will say no to themselves on pursuing this journey of becoming an author because it's such a big. The reptilian brain really gets challenged when with the clients that we get to see, and it continues to do so all the way up to the retreat, and that's why I often release a mindset webinar 1 month out just to just sort of say, hey, you're not the only one going through this stuff. You know, the other people that are coming along are experiencing these common 7 patterns that I reveal to them, and so that they can identify, because the universe is always going to challenge us to see if we're worthy of our success. And of course, anything that is, amazing to pursue, we can often feel at the beginning very sick about saying yes to it.
Look, I can relate to that, Nat. When I was putting my book together leading up to the retreat, I had very, very strong carbohydrate cravings and desire to clean the house. Was any excuse. And once again, if anyone gets these strong carbohydrate cravings for whatever reason, it's usually because you want to feel something different than whatever it is you're feeling in that moment. And so those comfort foods represent that feeling of comfort, that you want to feel comforted again. And that can be one of the drivers as to why you might suddenly feel like eating certain foods that you perhaps don't normally eat, or they're more treat foods. But that was what I was feeling leading up to the retreat as well, so I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
A couple of people that are coming along are saying the same thing. I'm going to need that mindset webinar, Natasha. And Roz saying, yes, I've self-sabotaged by turning down public speaking gigs when they really could be a wonderful business opportunity to growth. Desire to clean is to take control, from Kimberly.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been fighting one of these lately, knowing it can be huge, and get scared about the size of it. But each time I do, I remind myself it's my purpose to make this difference for other people. So I have to run towards the new stuff rather than run away from Tracy. There's birthing the book, all that sort of stuff. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, love that. And that's the difference between the results you're experiencing right now and the results that you want to have. That whatever it is that you want to have that you don't have yet means that you will need to feel challenged in some way to improve your results.
Yeah.
And it may not feel good. It might feel quite uncomfortable and annoying, frustrating. And think about it as the context of a gym workout. You don't get better results until you push yourself a bit further. You're running a bit faster or lifting a slightly heavier weight. That's when you see results and progress. If you keep doing the same thing, you adapt and it gets quite cruisy and quite comfortable, and you'll maintain your results, but you won't improve.
Yeah.
So depending on what it is that you want to achieve, you will need to feel challenged to get better results than what you're already getting. And that might mean attending extra networking events or picking up the phone and calling people, whatever that might be for you. So all of this is culminating to what this is my catch cry that I love and I'm very proud of. It's about living with worth. And this is very close to my heart and my mission of closing the confidence and achievement gap for women, stemming back to when I was very young, and as soon as I was getting great results with something, I would pull back. I never knew why, I just did. And it translated to courses, university courses I chose to do. It translated to partners relationships I got into. So I did things that kept me feeling mediocre because I had a belief that that's where I was at and that's who I was. So living with worth, it's about living like you are worth it. And I ideally wish for women to feel clear about the value that they have to offer and be able to communicate this with conviction. And that's what Unstoppable is about. And so before we wrap up, are there any final questions that anyone has?
So a few encouraging comments and saying that this webinar, there's been a few boys or men on this webinar who are also saying they love it and it's so relevant for both sexes. So I believe that too.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. Okay, so live with worth. So if you'd like to get your Unstoppable on, you are invited to purchase a copy, and for UBS members, I'm keeping the pre-launch price of $19.95, and you're welcome to go to the link that's been sent through to you in your chat box, kerryngamble.com/store, and using a coupon code of UBS 2016, and that will automatically sort out the price to $19.95. So it's been wonderful sharing this with you. I could keep talking for hours going into this deeply because time has flown.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I've passed on to Kerryn all the registration details so we can get this recording out, because I think there's a few wonderful distinctions that you might want to re-listen to again, and you guys will get the email in line with everyone else who was registered of this recording, especially for those people who missed seeing the PowerPoint or whatever it is. But before we finished off, I did want to, Kerryn's book is wonderful, and I've started reading it because I've got quite a lot of obviously books on my reading list, because we help over 60 to 80 people do their books. So it's hard to keep up with you guys. But I always love to look at, my author's stuff, and I strongly encourage you to get this. It's amazing, and it's actually quite a big book in what you achieved in just 49 days. So, I mean, I'm just curious, Kerryn, what, you sound like you are obviously unstoppable, and I've experienced that in what you do, but why did you choose to do the retreat over doing this by yourself?
I have a focused approach to what I do, and to me the retreat represented a really focused way of going about putting a book together. And I really respect the work that you've done and the system that you've put together. So it is it's like a one-stop shop, for want of a better expression, where you have all the people and the different organisations all lined up. So when you start and you record and you go through the process, it saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of headspace.
Yeah.
There was a fair bit of headspace chewed up in doing the book, but it saves having to go, right, what's next? Where do I go for that? Who do I speak to? Can I trust this person? So you've already worked with them a number of times. You've got the relationships, the trust factors there, and it was it made it simple, made it really easy.
Cool. And how did you do it so fast? I mean, there is a couple of authors on the call that are about to do it or have done it. What kept you going that you've completed it so rapidly and got it in your hands? What do you think was sort of a couple of the things that were happening? I know one of the things by having that sort of event coming up or something where you want the physical printed books to be there is a huge one that I always suggest for people to set up so they have something to aim for. Was there some couple of other things that pushed you along so rapidly?
That was the primary driver, that I had that event that I really wanted the book for. And more than that, because it had taken me 10 months or whatever it was to do the retreat, once I decided I wanted the book and I want it now, that was enough, and that was all I needed, to make that happen and have it by that deadline.
Super focused. So you used to, stay up a bit later and go off and do some extra work, and you would just bang, bang, bang. And I always suggest, get it out, get it finished, because all the cool stuff you want to do with it is on the other side of it. And we're just discussing how all your things that are going to happen and us already happening are just going to get bigger and bigger, especially over these first 12 months, and everything just compounds as time progresses. And often people see my journey or look at all the things I have accomplished or have now, but they'll just happen one thing at a time. But it all compounds to build that amazing brand and credibility that you already living and breathing yourself. So Leanne said, I've finished Kerryn's book and I really enjoyed it. She's read your book there. Great team. Thanks, Louise. I can't wait to see you next. Thank you also from Batia. Thank you so much, Kerryn. You've hit the spot on several points for me. Confidence, big time. Also posture, stopping unnecessary apologies, stop deflating and deflecting, and more. Great stuff from Carl there. Also, thank you from Kimberly. Thank you so much. So lots of thank yous and amazing feedback coming through. So it's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Go and grab this book because it's super powerful. I mean, just a couple of things that I've already written a couple of pages of notes as you've been speaking, because I always know I can learn from everybody something cool or have a distinction. And I love it. I love what you've shared tonight. So the code is posted in the chat box, as we said, and you've got that special coupon code that Kerryn's put on there because the book is $10 more expensive outside of this call. So and we're sorry that we've gone over a little bit with our time, but I think this was super, super valuable. And for anyone that does want to perhaps write a book and you haven't done your first book, then come and talk to us, and we can do it super fast. As Kerryn said, we do have amazing teams and people already aligned, so you don't have to do any of the thinking. You just have to write your book. So go get Unstoppable by Kerryn. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Kerryn.
Thank you, Nat, and thank you, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Bye. Have a good night.
See you.